A lot of people were on the Colorado train, and a lot of people have covered Colorado this year. So we're going to bring in one of our smartest people to help us do so. Clinton Yates, my boy, joins the College Football Show. We appreciate you coming in here, Clinton.
How we doing today, boys? Pretty exciting Saturday on the gridiron.
Yeah, it was, look, in Colorado, look, you wrote a great article. It's out on Anscape right now. I highly recommend everyone go read it. It is titled The Hater's Guide to Deion Sanders. The detractors and the haters are going to be out after this performance, Clinton, but what do you make of the game?
Yeah. I thought that this was a tough game for them. They got dominated in so many ways physically. I mean, their run defense couldn't stop anybody. And credit to Kansas, by the way, beating 3 straight ranked teams in a row. That team looked like a football team that we thought they were going to be at the beginning of the season, who many people picked to win that conference outright. They stumbled early and have found their form late. Now, that being said, Colorado also had a lot of their flaws sort of exposed in terms of their inability to really compete with anybody if they don't get a lead and if they don't get Travis out to a good start. You saw that flag that didn't get called against him in the first quarter. That almost seemed to throw off the whole offense for the rest of the game. But yeah, Kansas beat Colorado in a day in which they controlled their fate to the Big 12. They're still obviously going to make a bowl game, which is another discussion we'll get to. But yeah, Jayhawks did it at Arrowhead. Impressive win.
I don't want this to sully what has been otherwise an incredibly successful season for Deion. But guys, when it comes to Deion, for me at least, it's not just that Deion is doing things his own way, quote unquote, whatever way that is, it's Deion's way. It's not just that he's doing it, it's that he's doing it and he's having success, Clinton. And I think that's what makes people really mad. And you alluded to some of that in your article.
Yeah, and the one thing I think that got a little bit blown out of proportion is a little bit of a reading is fundamental element here. What I said was, you're going to have a hard time convincing me that there's a better coach in America right now than Deion Sanders. And let's just take your pick as to what metric you want to use for that. If you want to use national championships, okay, let's start with Mac Brown, one of the guys who still got one, who's still here in North Carolina. Let's start with Dabo Swinney, and let's start with, obviously, Kirby Smart. I don't need to tell you what's going on around the Georgia program to let me know that Kirby Smart is not somebody that I want to look up to on a pedestal regarding keeping people safe. Dabo Swinney has barely figured out how to work the NIL and the portal, so that to me sort of feels like he's behind the times on everything. And Mac Brown is a legend. God bless UNC, but let's be real about what the modern game is. That's my point. If you look around this landscape, Nick Saban ain't walking through that door. It's not like there's some ton of guys with a ton of rings doing everything so well that when you really stack it up, there's tons of arguments against a guy like Prime, who's had so many different people turn over in that program, brought a lot of excitement, and this season has the wins to boot to bring pride back to a program that isn't just out of nowhere. They have rings there. There is a standard at Colorado. I just think that college football has really done itself a disservice by fans who simply have a problem with the man not being able to look at what's happened with the program. Because as far as I'm concerned, it's been electric and there's been nothing but positivity.
Yeah, one thing I've definitely noticed about Colorado ever since Deion got there, people either love Colorado or they hate Colorado. There's really no in between of how you feel about him. But for those that really enjoy watching this team play, now that they get this loss against Kansas, their college football playoff hopes are kind of up in the air. Would you still determine this season as a success with how they've handled everything? Or do you look at this as something like, all right, they fell a little bit short of their goals because people had Colorado all over the place?
They might have a number 1 pick in Shedeur Sanders. It's a lock as far as I'm concerned. The 12 is going to get the Heisman Trophy. They're going to go to a bowl game, and 100-year-old Peggy is going to be there with them. I understand that there are people that think that wins and losses are the only thing that matter in sports. But as far as I'm concerned, this is really what the sport is about. Of course, this season is a success. 4 wins last year, 1 year the year before. Yeah. This could still have been a 10-win season. There are teams in that conference that have never had one in their history. Iowa State, I'm talking to you. God bless them. What I'm saying is that a lot of people seem to put their own random standards on something. If you spent any time in Boulder, which I did quite a bit last year, I covered 3 or 4 games and talk to all people all over the place. They're loving it. Why does this need to all of a sudden be? Because there's one coach who happens to be in the Pro and College Football Hall of Fame, some standard that we're not holding anybody else to across the country. For me, this story has been the best story in college football for a couple seasons now, because if you know the people on the ground, you know the people affected by that program, them going to a bowl game is going to be far more exciting than some of these other random bowls that you're going to see that allegedly are going to count for more.
There's been some rumors going around that obviously Shedeur, he's going to the pros. He's going to be a top 5 pick or the first pick. And some other people have even mentioned that his father is going with him. How concerned are you that Deion, although great for college football, might be on his way to the NFL already in an all too soon moment?
This is a two-parter. Number one, has any of those people who said they're going to the pros been Deion Sanders? Because last time I checked, it hasn't. And number two, I don't think anybody in Boulder cares. Listen, if you get the opportunity to have somebody like that come through town, the amount of money that guy has been involved in terms of the finances of the city, never mind the school, the fact that enrollment has gone through the roof. They're making changes to Folsom Field, which, by the way, is also 100 years old. I don't consider it a big concern because I wouldn't consider that untoward. If you go to a place and you do what you said you were going to do, which is restore some level of pride, get some wins, put you back on the map, and then you decide to move on, some people call that the American way. And as far as I'm concerned, this has been as good of a run as any college coach has had, at least in the last 10 years that I can think of, that didn't come out with something terrible happening on the back end in the wash. Maybe they haven't gotten as many wins as people assume should have been there, but otherwise, the guy's running a great program. He's rehabilitating lives in terms of coaches like Warren Sapp. He's touching the community. What more do you want out of a college football coach? I just don't get the problem.
Let him
Why
cook.
people want to hate this?
My brother came on here to cook. That's what I like. Cam, did you have some coffee or some Celsius right before coming on to this hit?
It's the
Well, I'm
truth.
saying, hold on, quickly, yo. I mean, here's the thing, quickly. It's not about me being some over-the-top prime fan. That's not even the point. The point is that to a man, if you actually analyze the different things that people have criticisms with and break them down one for one, they all kind of fall apart if you look at who else is around the country. We're not going to hold one guy to a standard that's so random just because you know who he is, but then all these other dudes moving around, they can do whatever they want and just like, oh, well, yeah, that's what happens at that program. Make it make sense, y'all. If you're going to try to be smart, at least show your work. Come on, kiddos.
Or at least have the same standards of scrutiny. I think it's a great point, Clinton. And whether Deion is going to be in the college game or whether he's going to be in the NFL, look, Curt Cignetti said earlier today, all good things must come to an end. And sometimes it might come to an end. But Deion has been great for college football. We are certainly on that bandwagon as well. Clinton, thank you so much for your journalism. It is a beacon of the sport as well. We appreciate it, Clinton. Thanks.
Absolutely, boys. Have a great show.